Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. My name is Mark R. LePage. I'm the founder of EntreArchitect, and welcome to this EntreArchitect special session webinar. Today's webinar is called An Introduction to Real-Time Rendering and Visualization Software. That is a word that I have a tough time saying. Denver video and audio is currently muted. This is a webinar, so you are hanging out with us on Zoom. And if you're not hanging out with us on Zoom, you're in Facebook and you'd like to hang out with us on Zoom, entrearchitect.com/webinar, and you can register still and jump on the call with us. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end, so please do that. Let me just quick share this slide because this is an AIA continuing education course as well. We'll run for about an hour. This is approved for one learning unit of continuing education. In order to receive that continuing education credit, you need to be here live on Zoom. So if you're in Facebook and you want this credit, you need to be over here on Zoom. You need to attend the full session and complete the evaluation form that will be sent to the attendees on Zoom by email. So check your email after the session, fill out the evaluation form, send it back to us, and we'll get you an AIA credit. The deadline to submit that is this Friday, December 10th, 2021. For today's training, we're going to run for about 40 minutes or so, and then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. I will host that Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the session, just post them in the Q&A box, and then we'll hold them off to the end. We'll have a nice queue of questions at the end. Today's session will be presented by Josh Radel. Josh provides technical support and training at Enscape. He holds a degree in game art and animation. And before joining Enscape, Josh worked as a senior product manager at Autodesk reseller ATG USA, where he led the company's AEC visualization training and consulting efforts. He's a passionate BIM and rendering expert who has consulted with some of the world's largest AEC companies. And today's session will be hosted. Typically, I host these sessions, these special sessions. But this time, I wanted to invite my friend Evan Troxel, founder of Troxel Podcast, co-founder of Archispeak Podcast, to come over here and host this one. He is an expert in technology. He's a industry-leading design and technology expert. He's a licensed architect in California, and he's Tech App's architectural community director. So there's nobody better than Evan to host this session. Evan, I'm going to hand things off to you so you can host Josh, and then Josh can share his screen.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Mark, and welcome everyone. Mark introduced me, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but I will say that I have been a member of this community for a very long time. So it's an honor to be here with you today. And I want to jump right into it. Let's talk real-time rendering and Enscape. And first, I just want to begin with a quote that I saw recently on Twitter that I think will get us in the right mindset. My friend Ian Keogh of Hypar, who I've had on the Troxel podcast a couple of times, he's a recognized leader in AEC, was with Autodesk for a long time and is now running a startup. He said, AEC is experiencing an awakening. We're realizing that software can and should be used for more than drawing lines on a page. If you've been doing this as long as I have, and I'm referring to designing architecture in 3D, you'll appreciate what you'll see today. I started 3D modeling when all you could see were wireframes. That was 1993, and you had to learn to read these rudimentary model display types, and it was no good for clients. It was a process, and if you've been there, you know what I mean. And then at the very end, after tweaking every little setting in the rendering settings and getting the geometry just right, you hit a render button. And does anybody remember that? And I know I'm speaking into the void right now. And then you would find mistakes and you'd hit the render button again and you'd wait hours and hours and hours. Well, I'm happy to say that this technology has come a long way. And I'm so happy to be hosting this special session today with Enscape. Why? Because there is effectively no more render button. And I think about Ian's quote that I just mentioned a minute ago, and what you're going to experience today is one fantastic example of software that does more than the way we've always done things. And it allows us to do more than put lines on sheets. And it's not merely a presentation tool. I know a lot of people think of renderings as just presentation at the end of the process, This is a full-on legitimate design tool. And I honestly think that it is the most powerful way to convey what you see here today. It's no longer the end of that process. It's now a key part of the decision-making process during design. And Enscape is actually fun to use, which makes it even better. So with all that, I'm going to hand it over to Josh of Enscape. So take it away, Josh.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, let's, yeah, here we go. Perfect. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Oh, we don't need to introduce myself because thank you, Mark, for that. So first up, what we're going to, before we get into it, I just want to lay some foundation. So with Enscape, we have a lot of great resources out there. So if you're using Enscape and you run into any issues, be sure to check out one of these 4 different things. Our knowledge base is a very, very great place to get in-depth articles on everything that is on every tool, every feature of Enscape. Again, there's step-by-step instructions in there. So that's a really great one. Our blog is a very, very great place to get latest product updates, really good, useful articles, and some really good blogs from not only our Enscape team, but also our Enscape community. Our YouTube is also another very great place. There's a learning section as well, so you can get step-by-step instructions, video instructions on how to do all things Enscape. And again, a lot of great information and tutorials from our community and our forum. Very great for really good in-depth knowledge, tips and tricks from our community users, and it's broken out by different design application. So for those who don't know, Enscape supports Revit, SketchUp, ArchiCAD, and Rhino. So if you're using any one of those design applications, you can find really good detailed information on all things about those. All right, so next up is the quick agenda. So what we're going to talk about is how Enscape's real-time rendering engine can fit into our daily workflow. And then we're going to talk about the material library, the material editor, how these are really great features when working with materials. And then our asset library, we're going to talk about that. And then once our scene is getting to where we want and we want to showcase this designs to our clients, we're going to talk about the different ways we can get these designs over to our clients. So we got some really cool things, and then we'll end it with some Q&A. So without further ado, let's get in and see some cool stuff. All right, so here we have Revit, obviously. So once you install Enscape, it's a plugin. It'll sit on top of your ribbon up here, and you have to have a 3D geometry. So Enscape will take all the 3D geometry that's inside of here, and it'll push over to Enscape. So you have to have a 3D view set up to start. And to get Enscape open, all I'm going to do is simply hit the play button. So now what's going to happen is our engine's going to start. So with Enscape here, yep, there it goes. So with real-time rendering, essentially what this means is with real-time rendering, it's been part of the visual effects and game industry for a very, very long time now. So with the demand for higher visualization and the AEC space, real-time rendering is making its way into that space now. So with Enscape built its own real-time rendering engine. So basically what this is doing on the back end, like traditional rendering, like Evan said, you render a still image and then you have to sit there and wait for it. Well, with this, real-time rendering is rendering images so fast, it appears to be in real time. So that's the real power. So we'll be able to navigate around the model, change the time of the day. Any changes we're making inside of Revit are instantly going to be affected over inside of Enscape for us. So now what we can do is we can split screen. This is a very great way if you're working with dual monitor setup, have Revit open on one window, throw Enscape on another window, and think of Enscape as a real-time window into your model. So once you first launch Enscape, it's going to drop you right where you launched when you hit the play button. So there's going to be a menu that pops up. So this is going to tell you all the different ways you can navigate around, and you can also change the time of the day. So using the WASD keys, or you can even use your arrow keys, W to move forward, S to move left, or S to move back, A to move left, D to move right. And using my left mouse click basically to control my head. So wherever I'm moving my left mouse click, it's moving my head left and right. So now we can do some really cool things. We can change the time of day just by holding down shift and right mouse click, and I'm just moving my mouse left and right. So being able to show our clients what our model is going to look like at different lighting conditions throughout the day, that's a very powerful thing to be able to showcase to them. So again, just being able to visualize what this space is going to look like at all the different times of the day here. So, all right.
And I just want to cut in here for a second, Josh, and just let everybody know, depending on their internet speed and what's coming across,
Sure.
What Josh is seeing is going to be super fluid and it's not going to be skipping around at all. So, and I just wanted to convey that because like on my slow Wi-Fi, it's coming across like, oh, there's an image and then there's another image, but not
Gotcha.
on
Okay.
Josh's side. It's like full on fluid. And I want everybody to understand that if they've never seen this before.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. So where the real power comes in is it's real-time model updating. So by that means whatever I'm changing inside of Enscape, inside of Revit here, Enscape is going to real-time render it for me and show me those changes instantaneously. Now this works for if I'm, moving things, adding things. I can work in floor plan mode here as well. And let's go into the kitchen. Let's go into the living room here. This is where at this point it's a design review tool. So now you can sit with your client, and if they're like, hey, I want to move some furniture, move it over here, or I want to add in different furniture. Again, Enscape's going to show you instantaneously here. So you don't have to alter your workflow at all for this. You already know how to use Revit. You already know how to place. You already know Revit. We're halfway there with Enscape. All you have to do is hit the play button, and Enscape's going to give you that window inside your model. It also, again, anything you're doing, changing materials, even adding different families in, like here, let's add a window in here. So again, there we go, done. Again, Enscape's going to show me instantaneously here. I can make adjustments as they come up on the fly. So let's just move this down here. Again, boom, there, it updated for me instantaneously. So that's where it's a design review tool for the early stages, seeing changes happening as they come up with your client, sitting right next to them, making changes to, again, materials or anything like that. Enscape's going to show you instantaneously, and you can navigate around, freely explore the model. So that's the big powerful feature of Enscape, being able to real-time render. And basically what you see here is what the final result is going to be. So we'll get into the export features in a second. So now let's talk about materials. So in Enscape, we have our own material library. So this is where we have over 300 different pre-built materials for us to use. So now because materials can kind of be hard to find, especially some good seamless ones, to really help sell the design and convey the design to our client. So we've built our own library of over 300 different assets for us to use. So you can hover over any one of these. You can select multiple different ones. You can even, once you hover over one, you can see there's a little star that pops up. So you can favorite any one of those. So now what you're going to do to get a material from the Enscape material library inside of Revit, all you have to do is hit the import selection button here. And what this is going to do, this is going to import this into our Revit material library and create a Revit material out of it. And you can apply it the same exact way like you normally would any other material. So let's get in here real quick so we can see this. All right. So let's go to edit type, and then here we go. All right. So one thing to keep in mind is if you have your naming convention set up how you want, and you have surface patterns applied to your model, you have it scheduling correctly, but you just want it to look a little bit better, look more photorealistic, Enscape is just going to look at the appearance tab. So it's just going to look for the materials maps in there. But again, if you already have naming convention, for surface patterns, it's already scheduling correctly, and we don't want to mess with that, that's fine. So we're going to go to our asset browser here, and then we're going to go to document assets. We'll scroll down and be able to find our wood material that we imported here. So let's go for the wood chevron material. And all I'm going to do is hit the little arrow right here to replace just the appearance tab. So I'm just going to click that. And that's going to take all those materials and the material parameters that were already in that material, and it's just going to put those inside the appearance tab. And I'm going to hit apply. And now we can see our new Enscape material applied to our surface, or applied to our floor here. And we saw how fast that was to switch out. So again, you can definitely apply that just like you would any other material. But again, for those cases where you have the surface patterns and whatnot, utilize that workflow right there to get that into your model. And one thing is, if you are working in a multi-user environment where you need to share materials, go down here to the render settings tab, or to the little settings, and set this folder to be the location of that project. So then any material you import inside of your Revit project, that will get put into that project. So then everybody that's working on that project will be able to have access to those materials. And you can further edit these as well inside the Revit environment. Again, you have total control over that as well. So that's a little bit about our Enscape material library. Again, with each new release, we're going to get a bunch of new materials. With the addition of 3.2 that just came out recently, we had a bunch of new green assets, so different types of green materials. So now let's look at our other feature here, this Enscape Material Editor. So this Enscape Material Editor, this is a very great way to edit our materials. And there's this really nice bi-directional live link going on here with inside of the Enscape Material Editor in our Revit material. Because a lot of times it can kind of be a little, working with the Revit material editor might be a little bit difficult sometimes. So this is where this will help us fine tune the materials and see the results happen a lot faster. So let's go down to our floor stone material here. Again, this is taking the material that's already set up in Revit, and I can further edit this. So I can do things like change the scale of this. So let's say I need it to be 4 meters by 4 meters. I can instantly see the results happening. Again, keep in the back of your mind that all of this information is being pushed back into the material of inside of Revit. So I don't have to worry about changing things from one spot to another. There's this nice bi-directional link going on here. The great thing with this too is if I have different material maps, it's going to change the size for all my different material maps versus in Revit. If I had the color and a bump map, I'd have to go change the size for each individual one. This is just going to do it all for us. And I can also do things like change the tint color as well. So again, that's where I can really see what the final results are going to look like from my material. And to show you guys what's all being sent back there, I can show you what that looks like. So we go to edit material. And then again, in the appearance tab, here's the new size that I just set up for my material inside the Enscape material editor here. And it also took the tint color as well. So again, that's where this real nice bi-directional link is really coming into play here.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
I have a question here from Lee Kalisti, and he's a Vectorworks user who's been using Enscape for a year. And he would like to know that if he knows he's going to be using Enscape to render, should he be importing Enscape textures into the model for best results?
For best results, yeah. Our materials are what we call Pbr materials. So physically based rendering materials. So they have a couple different material maps in there that are really going to help add detail and realism to the model.
Awesome. And then one other question is, does it work with Vectorworks? Or if you could just explain quickly how it would work with Vectorworks.
Sure. Same thing. So everything I'm showing you in regards to the materials, like importing materials and then the material editor, that's the exact same thing inside of Vectorworks. Just in Vectorworks, you're utilizing native Vectorworks features on how to apply materials to surfaces, and then using the material editor, you just further fine tune them. So, and that's the really great thing too. Everything I'm showing you guys today is going to be applicable to all the design applications that we support.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. So then we can also do another really cool thing with this Enscape material editor. So if we just create a new material in Revit and then we get it scheduling correctly on the back end, we get it set up, but we didn't add textures to it because we want to save that for later, we can import our own textures as well through this material editor. So let's go to this interior wall right here where it doesn't have any texture set up. So I can import my own. So say I have a list from a manufacturer's website, or I go to a website where I can go download some free textures. I can utilize all those texture maps inside of here. So I'll show you guys a really cool trick where this material editor really helps us out here. It'll be in the bump map tab, but let me just add in this last material map. So in the Albedo map, this is where the color of the image is going to be. So that's dictating the color. The height map is going to be exactly what it says, the height map, the bump map. And then the reflections are going to control how blurry or reflective the surface is, and it's also going to control the details of that. So this looks pretty good right now with the bump map applied to it. But with the bump map, when I'm looking straight down on it, it looks really good. But if I go at an angle, it's going to lose that 3D look. So how I can change this and really add more realism to it. If I go into the bump map tab and I hit the drop down where it says displacement map, this is what's going to give us the ability to push this material a lot farther. So basically this bump map is going off of black and white values. Whatever's black is recessed, whatever's white is going to be raised up. So that's why there's this really nice gradient going on of blacks, whites, and grays. So now I can see here, this actually is starting to look like a 3D stone material. And I can adjust the height of this as well. So if I don't need it to be so protruding or anything like that, I can definitely adjust that. And again, all of this is pushing back into that Revit material. So it's going to carry over those materials as well. Now, say I like this material and I want to continue using this throughout different projects. If I hover over it and I click the three dots, it might be a little hard to see, but there's three dots on the right-hand side. If I click Export Material Package, now what this is going to do is this is going to save this as an Enscape material. So now I can start setting up my company library of Enscape ready materials to use. So I can export this and then again, put on my company server. And I go up to the three dots and I hit batch import. And then from there, I can import all my different Enscape materials and I can work off the same settings that I've already set up and I know are going to look good inside of Revit. Another really powerful thing that material editor gives us is if we hit the type, we have a couple different options here for different types of materials. So we can do a clear coat, which is really great for car paints and ceramics. Foliage is great for single face objects and trees, grass. We get volumetric grass. So just by toggling a material to grass, it's going to turn that to volumetric grass. We can adjust the height of that as well. And we can tell which materials are what by the icon over there. So we can adjust the height variation as well. And there's a self-illumination material here. So this is really great if we're doing custom lighting fixtures. We can create that custom lighting fixture, assign a material to that, and then just tell it to become a self-illuminating material, and it's going to self-illuminate. We can control the variance of that as well. But it also really comes into play when we're doing TVs. So we can do video textures. So if I go to my TV screen here, we can see I have a movie applied to this texture. And when I move around, it's going to play that video just by adding that texture or that movie file into the Albedo map. And then I can tell it to become really bright, again, to kind of give that illumination like it's emitting light from a TV. So that's where utilizing this Enscape material editor is really going to come in handy and really be beneficial for us and help speed up our workflow to see what our materials are going to look like. All right, so that's about our material library and our material editor. Now, let's get into our asset library. So how we have all these trees, furniture, and people and such. Enscape has its own asset library here. So we ship with over 2,700 different assets pre-built and ready for us to use. So we have different types of vegetation, people. So in regards to people, we can have a couple different options to place these assets. By default, it's going to place it on your active work plane. We have asset on surface or link Revit family to asset. First one we'll look at is place asset on surface. I'll just pick the surface I want and then click and place. And it's going to be that easy to start populating your scene with high quality 3D models. Yeah, so there's our high quality asset right here. The next way we have to place assets is, this is a very powerful way. This is a Revit specific one. So by default, our assets come in under the planting category. And if we're in floor plan mode, we can see how they look. So we can see the geometry and everything like that. But if we're looking something for a little bit more clean and has the BIM information tied to it like Revit families do, what we can do is let's select our Revit family here. And I'm going to go up to my asset library. And I'm going to select, let's say, another bench here. So I'm going to click this bench, and there's three dots that hover over it again. I'm going to click the link Revit family to asset. A dialog window is going to pop up where we can select our bench that we want. So I'm going to click our Revit family and click OK. So now what this is going to do is this is going to keep our Revit model looking clean in plan view, scheduling correctly, but it's going to keep our visualization model in Enscape displaying the higher quality 3D model. So this is a really, really great trick to, keep the two looking really, really good. So we can see there's a nice high quality 3D object, and I still have my Revit family, and it's still under the furniture category. So again, that's a really cool trick to start populating our scene with high quality 3D assets.
And I'll just interject here real quick, because one of the questions came up about why does the Enscape furniture in this case, but also other assets the quote is they look terrible in plan layout, but that's because those are straight out of Enscape and those are kind of built around the engine of Enscape. But if you use this trick, you can get Revit looking assets like what you expect them to look like with Enscape in the rendering portion.
Exactly. Yep. That's kind of a way to get around it. And again, our assets were modeled in different programs other than Revit. So that's where you're going to see all the 3D geometry and the topology, and they're optimized for real-time rendering. So the placeholder geometry is going to look really low topology. And what I mean by topology is the triangles. So it's going to look like that, but in Enscape, it's going to display as a nice high quality one. So that's how our team built those. But yeah, utilizing that link Revit family to asset trick, that's how we can get around that and still keep the two intact. Now with 3.2 though, we do have the windows right above it. There we go. So with 3.2, we introduce a whole new thing. It's called, we have our asset library now inside of the Enscape window. And now what we can do is we can move objects inside of the asset, or we can move assets, we can rotate assets, and we can also place assets inside of the Enscape window. So I can place single assets. So again, I can click and place people. I can grab another person and place them here. I'm going to hit escape, move my window up here, and then I'm going to hit apply changes. And this is all going to push back inside of Revit. So here we can see them be in place right here. And we can also rotate these, we can scale them.
And Josh, is it safe to say that when you say Revit, it accounts for the other software programs that work directly with Enscape?
Correct, yep. This, again, the same exact thing I'm doing here, that's the same exact process that you can expect for all the design applications. We also have a multi-asset placement feature. So this is where we can select multiple different assets. So we can go up to our categories here and we can select vegetation. Now we can start, let's grab some trees or some little bushes. Yeah, here we go, a bush. We can grab a couple of these. I have a couple different options. I can use a rectangular selection, a circular selection, or I can take a whole paint bucket selection so I can populate a whole field if I needed to with different types of assets. And what I do is just click and drag. There we go. And we can see I can also move this. There we go. And I have it set to random. I can do jitter, which is also going to create them more along the line. Same with uniform. It's going to put them along a grid system. And I also have random rotation. So now I can sit here and randomize them. So when I place a bunch of them, they're not going to be the same position. I can also click the regenerate button to rescatter them and see how they look. And I can change the density of that as well, so I can get more or less. And then I just hit confirm placement and then apply changes. And again, that's all going to be pushed back inside of my design application. So we'll let that process quick. The next feature I'll show you in regards to assets is if you don't see an asset inside the Enscape library, or you need a custom one, like a manufacturer specific one, or if you went to a manufacturer's website or you went to a 3D website where you found some really good ones, you can definitely add those in as well and create Enscape assets out of those. So here I have my library of custom assets where I can click and place. Oh, that was a little small. Yep. That was a little bit bigger there. And I can hit apply changes. Again, this was a FBX file. So with the custom assets, we support OBJ, FBX, and GLTF files. And you can create your own custom Enscape assets out of those. And again, we're letting that load up here. There we go. All right. And there's our nice new custom assets. All right. And again, we can move those, we can rotate those, we can change them up, or we can scale them as well too. So that's our custom asset library. And one other button before we get our designs over to our clients is up in our visual settings tab here. This is where we have all the different image enhancing features that control what the Enscape window looks like here. So in our main tab, we have a mode where it's called white mode. So this is great for early stage designs where you're not talking materials yet with your clients. So now you can interactively explore the model, change the time of the day, freely explore just the structure of the model without having your clients get married to the texture that you've put in there. So again, that's in our visual settings tab here. And then if you click the mode to white mode, that's where that one will be. And then again, we have a couple different image enhancing features like contrast, shadow, saturation, those types of things. Atmosphere is going to control our cloud system and then our sun brightness as well. So you can control the illumination, the artificial light brightness as well. And the sky tab is where we can control the sun, the clouds and everything. So we can control the density of the clouds. Again, we have a lot of different control on how we want that image to look. And then a really great feature is, so right here, how we can see in the horizon where it's just a gray horizon line. In our source, we have a couple different options that come with Enscape to add a background in there. So we have a desert, forest, mountains. We can rotate these as well. Or what we can do is, if we need to show our client, hey, when you look outside your window, here's exactly what you're going to see. We have that option as well. So if we go to the skybox here, we can load it in our own. So let's go to one where, let's do this one right here. So this is where we can actually go on site with, say, a GoPro, or we have a Google Street View that we want. We can actually load in our own custom backgrounds here, rotate it into position to really showcase to our clients, hey, this is what it's actually going to look like when you're sitting at your kitchen table here for dinner. This is what you're going to see. And being able to do all this on the fly really, really fast for them, it's very, very powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in right here, when you do this with your client, instead of the old way where we would do a rendering and email them or show them, print it out and show them, when you walk to the edge of the pool deck from the kitchen in Enscape with your client, it's a whole new ballgame.
Exactly. So now we have our model looking how we want. We're ready to send these to our clients. So how do we do that? So we have a couple different options here. So our first up is our handy dandy rendering tool. So again, I'm doing this all live for you guys, so you're going to see how fast this is. So all I'm going to do is hit this take screenshot button. I'm going to tell it where I want it to go, and I'm going to hit save. And from here, this is how fast the rendering you can expect is going to be. So no more, you don't have to wait for hours or, hey, I need to make a change to it. That's as fast as it took. And we can see, here's our final rendering. So again, basically what I'm seeing in the window is pretty much what I'm getting from my final result here. One little trick when we're doing renderings is have this show save frame button turned on. So what this is going to do, this is going to show me my crop regions of what my export's going to be. And in my visual settings tab, if I go to the output tab here under resolution, this is where it's determined what my output resolution is going to be. So if I need to do a 4K resolution one, or if I need to do a custom size, say like a 1080 by 1080, my crop regions are going to update for me, and then I can adjust my shot accordingly to what I need it to be. So that's a really helpful little a button to have toggled on while you're producing your renderings. So let's put that back to full HD. One other feature is we have this render image into document button. This is a Revit specific one here. So if I hit render image into document, it's going to take a rendering for me, and it's going to create a new renderings tab for me inside of Revit. Again, this is a Revit specific one. So we can see here in my project browser, here's my rendering. So now I can put this on title sheets if I need to. So again, this was a Revit specific one. Next up is my favorite feature. I hope everybody in the audience has their cell phones handy with them. So this feature that I'm talking about is our Panoramas feature. So I'm going to put up a QR code right here. So I'm sure at this day and age, we've all had to scan a QR code now. So with this QR code, this is a very, very powerful way. When you do a design review with a client, because a lot of times clients can't look at a set of drawings or floor plans and think in 3D like we can. So we can take these QR codes and we can plant these QR codes inside of our floor plans on a pursuit. So when we're doing the review with the client, hey, here's your floor plan. Here's what it looks like. Scan that QR code quick with your phone, and then it'll ask you to go to a web link. And from there, it'll allow for immersive mode. And you should be able to see a 360 panorama of looking through this building that I was just in here. So hopefully I'll leave it up for more, and I'll show you guys how we created that. So how we do that is up in our 360s panorama button. So we have the option for mono or stereo panorama. The difference between the two is stereo gives the option to go to Google Cardboard. So you hit the one that you want, and it'll start generating that 360 panorama for you of right where you are. Once that's done, you go to your Uploads Management tab here back inside of Revit. This is where it's going to break it out by different projects. So it's going to keep track of all the different projects that you've taken panoramas from. And from here, we can see this one has a little cloud button with an up arrow. So this is going to ask you to upload it to our cloud storage system where it's housed and generates the links for you. And then you're going to get these 3 dots. Now this is where you get the option to save that QR code file. You can save it as a file, or you can copy the link. So if somebody's having trouble getting on their phone, you can simply just copy that link, and then you can send that to them, and then they can open up that on their computer. So we can see here what this is going to look like on my desktop computer. So again, if somebody's having trouble getting on their phone, you can definitely give them this. Now with these panoramas, we can take this a step further, because if we want to send them multiple ones, we can definitely do that. So we have a feature called the Panorama Tour. So I'll make this. So now this is where you can take all your panoramas that you've uploaded, select the project that you want, and then you can start selecting all the panoramas to create a gallery that you can share with your clients. So this is where you can send them a bunch of different ones all at once as a pre-guided tour, essentially. So we can see here, I have these little white markers that pop up. So I can click on any one of those, and it's going to teleport me to my next view. Again, very great way to be able to just simply send this as a whole link to your client. They click that, they can click any one of these links, see what's going on with the model at any given point in time. And down here as well, they can click on any one of these and be able to see this happening. So what happens if we make a change to the model? Great question. So there's this little button right here where it says replace upload panorama in cloud, because design changes are going to happen, right? So if we've already generated the panorama, already generated the link, and we previously we'd have to resend them a whole new link. With this, we just have to replace the panorama with what's already existing with the new one. I select the one I wanted to replace. All it's going to do is replace that image. So then you can tell your client, hey, give it 30 seconds, refresh that. You can see the new changes made to that model there. So again, that's our QR code and panoramas feature. Very, very powerful. Instead of doing it one by one like we did, we have a button called batch rendering, where we can set up, it's going to take all the different 3D views that we have set up in Revit or views that we've created ourselves from Enscape. We can batch render all those at one right after another. And we can also do that for panoramas as well. So our next option that we have is our video editor. So our video editor here is a very great way and easy way to create video walkthroughs. So what I'm going to do, say I want to start from right here. I'm just going to hit the play button, and I'm going to navigate over to the next spot on where I wanted to go. We'll say right here. I'm going to hit the play button again. And now I can hit the play button to get a preview of what my animation is going to look like. And at any time, I can stop this, and I can make adjustments to any of the keyframes, adjust the height. I can even change the time of day, so we can do a really, really nice time lapse. And then I can even add in more if I want. So say I move away quick and I want right in the middle here, I just hover over the timeline, and there's going to be a camera that pops up. I can click inside there, and now I can move up to adjust that. I'm going to hit the update button here. And then now I can preview what my animation is going to look like with that new change. And again, I can keep working my way around the building if I need to. If I'm satisfied with this, I can hit the export button here. And this is going to give me the export dialog box to tell me the resolution that I want to export at. So I can do full HD, ultra HD, frames per second as well. So again, if we're working in a team environment on the same project, we can also save the video path here. So if Evan and I are working on a project together and he wants to work out the same video path, I can save this video path. I can send that to him. He can load it up, and then he can also work out the same video path or if he's like, hey, I did something a lot cooler than you, he can change it, save it back to me, and I can load it up and see exactly the changes that he made to it. So the last feature that we have on getting our designs over to our clients is these standalone files. So how we're navigating around the model, changing the time of day, freely exploring our model like a video game, we can give our clients that same experience via these standalone files. So with this exe file here, once I click exe file, it's going to take everything that's in the Enscape window. It's going to package it up as an exe file. I send that to you. You don't need Revit, Enscape, Vectorworks, anything. You just need to have a computer that meets our system requirements, and you can double click this file and you'll be able to freely explore the model, change the time of day. You can even go into virtual reality with, if you would like, through this executable file. So this is a very, very powerful way to be able to, here you go, freely explore a model. Tell me what you think. We can make changes to it and I can send you a new one. The web standalone is the exact same thing, except it's through a web link. So you just generate web link, and then that, again, that's found over in your Manage Uploads tab under the tab Web Standalones. You just send that link to your client. They click that link and they can navigate around Enscape, or they can navigate around Enscape in their model through a web link. All right. And that is all the export features that we have to get our designs over to our clients. Looks like we're coming up on time. So is there any questions?
Mark, are you handling Q&A or do you want me to?
I was going to, but maybe it probably would be better for you to just keep rolling with it.
Okay. A question that's come up a couple times is just what is a decent computing requirement, not minimum requirement, but to get good results. So I think two answers would be useful here. Is just kind of like your first stab at a decent laptop, but then also like put some dollars to that as well.
Got you. So great question. First up, we have our knowledge base, again, where it has all of our information about that. And we also have our system requirements page. So this will tell you all the design applications that we support. And it will also have a breakdown of minimum recommended, VR recommended. So again, I'd go at least six gigs at least, for not minimum, because 4 is our minimum. 6 is right in the middle, happy medium. 8, I would recommend 8 as well, depending on the size of the project. And if you plan on putting a little bit more assets in there, and again, it's all based on the geometry and if you go into virtual reality, but yeah, I definitely recommend 8. So probably looking at machines that are GPU shortage is playing a hard thing to get as well. But yeah, if you can look at the 3070, 3080 series GPUs with a laptop, and our system requirements as well for, if you can run the design application, get a decent GPU, you'll be able to run just fine. So dollar amount varies on brand. So that one's kind of.
And availability. I think that, this is totally about the graphics card, guys. Yep. And so if you get a laptop, you want a NVIDIA GTX card for it. They're basically aimed at the gaming market, but that's the type of graphics card you want, and look for something with 6 or more gigabytes of RAM on that card.
Yeah.
And I don't know the cost. Yeah. I don't know the cost breakdown of that either. You're going to have to look it up.
Yeah. And just depending on where you get it to. But
another question is, Tesla asks, are the models geolocated? She says, are the hotspots geolocated in the model?
For the panorama gallery?
I assume so. Yeah.
So great question. Yep. So those are exactly where you took that from. So if I move outside here, I can see I took one in the bedroom here, and then the bedroom as well. And then one is inside the living room. And if I spin over here, you can see I took another one from over there. So it will take the exact location on where you took it from. And if you need to get back to that to make a design change and you want to replicate that same panorama, if you go back to the upload management tab here, there will be a little blue marker. It's got it's got like a little marker. You just click that and it'll fly you exactly back to that point. So you can regenerate that panorama and then again, re-upload that or refresh that link for them. So great question.
There's a question about Macintosh. I know Enscape has said that they're going to release a Mac version in 2022. I don't know if there's any more timeline according to that or not.
Great question. So let me get a link for you.
And does it work with Parallels? If not,
we do not work with Parallels.
Okay, Scott on Facebook. There's your answer.
Yep. If you had Boot Camp, it would work, but with the rise of the M1 chip, they discontinued Boot Camp support. But so on our website, if you go to enscape3d.com, Enscape for Mac, sign up for our mailing list, and this is where we're going to have all the information regarding Enscape for Mac coming out.
I think I can combine a couple questions into one here as far as licensing goes. So Earl wants to know if a solo practitioner who has a desktop and a laptop, do they need to buy 2 licenses? Can they take it back and forth? And the question I want to combine into that is, answer that.
Okay, great question. So we have 2 different licenses. We have a fixed seat, which is you get 1 fixed seat. It's on 1 machine. We have a floating license where you can install Enscape on multiple different machines, but only can have 1 instance of the Enscape window open at a time and only be using the Enscape tools like the asset library, material editor inside of your design application at once. But the minute you close that, it releases the key and then you can use it on another one. But for the fixed seats, what you can do is you can install Enscape on 1 machine and then install it on another machine. And then before you jump to that other machine, just hit remove license key from there and it'll remove the key. And then you can use it on another one.
Yeah. And same thing. If you have multiple design softwares on your computer, you just got to buy 1 Enscape, right?
Correct. Yep. That's the beauty of it. It's 1 installer for 5 different programs. So how I have all the different design applications, I can just close Enscape, go to Rhino, launch Enscape. So I don't need Enscape.
You do need to launch it from within whatever host application you're modeling in, because it has to push that geometry from that into Enscape.
Exactly. Yep. Enscape's not a standalone program. It's just a plugin. So you're correct. It has to be launched from within that design application.
And then can you talk about price? Because a question here, I'm kind of skirting around their question because they were asking about, is this similar to Lumion? I want you to talk about price.
Great question. So if you go to our website, and there's a whole pricing section up here. So we can see we have a free 14-day trial. Our floating license, $67 a month, or we have a fixed seat, which is $39 a month. So there's the 2 different pricing categories we have as well.
I think
cheaper than
I'm going to try to, you can have to price Lumion. I know it costs a lot more than that. The best place to learn Enscape in depth.
Great question. So we have our knowledge base is a great resource for that. So we have, again, every tip and trick for each individual tool inside of here, or we have our YouTube channel where we have, depending on the design application that you're using, we have a whole getting started with Enscape and the design application. So we walk through step-by-step tutorials on what each one is doing. Or if you would like more, and then also the blog, there's really good in-depth tutorials as well. Or if you need a more hands-on approach where you need to speak with either myself or our other application engineer, Kai, you can go to our website and you can scroll down to the bottom where it says request a free personal demo. So you could select that, select the design application that you want, let's say Revit. Again, you either get myself or Kai, depending on the time zone that you're in, and then that'll tie directly to our calendars. So then we can jump on with you and answer any questions that you have.
Enscape has also offered at Entree Architect a free 14-day trial. Evan, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I don't have that thing right in front of me. Can you do it?
No problem. I could do it. Yep. It's enscape3d.com/entrearchitect for a free 14-day trial. So you could just go to that link, download it for free, try it out, and then if you have more questions, then schedule a call, and if you're ready to go, then you can just buy a license and roll with it.
Exactly. And then also if you're a student, you sign up with your EDU account and you get a free copy of Enscape. So I like to work with a lot of educations as well. So
I posted that link both in the Zoom chat as well as on Facebook. So if you're watching
Perfect.
this later, go through the comments and the link is there.
Cool.
Any final questions, Evan?
I think that was it. Somebody is asking actually if that you could show that where that family link tool is. It would save them a lot of time.
Oh yeah, the link Revit family to asset. Yeah, so we go to our asset library here, and any asset that you select, if you just hover over it, there's going to be 3 little dots down in the bottom right-hand corner. So you just click the link, and then it's going to be link Revit family to asset, and then a dialog box is going to pop up with the Revit family that you want to replace that with, and then you just pick the family, and then from there, you'll see the results.
Okay, we have a few minutes for a few more questions if anybody wants to post some final questions in before we wrap things up.
I think, Josh, you had everybody drooling in the white model mode for sure.
The white model mode.
Architects, when architects see that, they're just like, oh yeah, this is it.
Yeah, there's another mode in there called light view mode. So with light view mode, when you change it the time of day, you'll be able to see where your hotspots are in the model. So now it's not going to give you 100% accurate lighting calculations, but it'll give you a good representation of, hey, I might need to look over here. So we can see here at a certain time of day, these spots are going to get pretty hot.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I am blown away by this software. It's the first time I've seen it in person. And seeing how it's working. And Josh and I were talking before we went live here. I don't know, Evan, when you started practice, but I started right at that transition between drafting boards and CAD files. And so I've seen the entire transition from drafting boards to where we are today. And it is so amazing how fast and how far technology has taken us to software like this, that in real time, you can be developing your design and seeing immediately how that design is going to look. It is fascinating to me to see where we've come.
Well, I'll say it this way. I said earlier, wireframe mode in 1993. I know some other people in the chat have been in here longer than I have, but I used to spend $5,000 on rendering software. Okay, right. So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, and waited overnight for the render to come out. Right, you'd have to click the button on your way out the door, and then hopefully it all worked out.
Yeah. Hopefully you didn't miss anything either.
Yeah.
It never worked out.
All right. Fascinating. So, Josh, thank you very much for sharing the behind the scenes here and how it works, a demo of Enscape. Evan, thank you very much for coming by and hosting us here. It's really interesting. I appreciate you for that. Again, visit enscape3d.com. That's their website, enscape3d.com/EntreArchitect for your free 14-day trial. This session has been recorded, so if you want to watch this, if there's something during the session that you want to go back and watch again, it's been recorded. It's right now it's live in the Facebook group, but it will stay there as a recording, so you can go to the EntreArchitect community and watch it there. It will also be posted either later today or tomorrow in the EntreArchitect YouTube channel. And so you can grab it in either of those places. Just a reminder for continuing education. If you joined us here on Zoom, remember that we will be sending out the evaluation form for this session. And in order to receive your continuing education credit for this session, you need to submit that evaluation form by this Friday. So watch your email in the next couple hours for that evaluation form. Very quick evaluation form, just basically an AIA number and whether you want a certificate and an evaluation of this program. And hit send and send it back to us, and we will make sure that you get that credit. Thank you all. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Evan. Thank you all for attending this session, having great questions, over on Facebook too. Thank you for the questions over there. I appreciate you all for sharing your knowledge here at the Entree Architect Special Sessions.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well.
All right. Have a great day.
Yeah, see you guys.